Greetings, scholars. I'm excited to bring you this presentation on Anna Smith Strong. Now, if you're like me, you've never heard of Anna Smith Strong, but she was a key figure in the American Revolution. I found out about this by reading the book Women Heroes of the American Revolution. The book covers 20 women that were significantly involved in one way or another in revolution activities. The category that specifically caught my eye was the one that Anna fell into, spies. I had never thought about the use of spies in the Revolution, thinking that maybe it was a strategy that came later on. But then as I thought more about it, I realized that God used spies in the Bible, so it would only make sense that we would follow that pattern and use spies in our present-day activities. Now, Anna Smith Strong was married. Her husband's name was Selah, and they had 6 children together. They lived outside of Long Island in a town called Setticott, located in New York. Now, the area was heavily populated by British at the time, as you may remember from our studies. And Anna's husband in particular was a prominent individual in the community. He was well respected and he was a judge. However, during this period of time, he had been convicted and jailed on insubordination charges against the British. So imagine that they're living in this town heavily populated by British, and not only that, their home was being occupied British. So they had to surrender their main house to allow British soldiers to reside there, and they moved their family into a small cottage. Also going on at this time was, of course, Selah being judged in jail for insubordination. Now, that seems like a lot to handle, that you're living in a community with the British as well as having them occupy your house while your husband's in jail. But Anna's story doesn't end there. Anna's story goes on to say that she was involved with the Culper spy ring. Now, Culper spy ring was started by Benjamin Talmadge. Now, Talmadge was appointed as major by Washington, and he was assigned by Washington to set up a spy network in the area, given that British was heavily populated in New York. So Talmadge enlisted the help of some of his closest friends and neighbors in order to get this spy ring set up. They were watching the movements in and around New York of the British. Now, 2 of the neighbors that he enlisted for help were Abraham Woodhull and Caleb Brewster. Now, Abraham lived in the same area as Anna, and Caleb Brewster was a fisherman who would come into port in the area of Setticott. So Anna was kind of their intermediary. Now, Talmadge, in his setting up of his spy ring, assigned codes, much like we're used to 007 being James Bond. Well, Anna's code was 355. Now, some historians denounce the fact that Anna was representative of 355, but they do agree that 355, or agent number 355, was a woman. So the way the scenario worked is that Woodhull would survey the area, kind of see what the movements were of the British in the area, and Brewster would carry the information to Talmadge. And the way they do that is when Brewster was out to sea, he would come into port or into the coves of Setticott, and they would transfer information from each other. Well, Anna was the person who carried that information. The way she did this was the way she hung her laundry on the clothesline. So when Brewster would come into port, he would signal Anna, and Anna would hang a black petticoat on her clothesline. The black petticoat let Woodhull know that Brewster was in port. Which particular cove he was hiding in was designated by the number of white handkerchiefs. So there were 6 coves that Brewster could come into, places where he could hide, and so they would number the handkerchiefs. So if he came into the 4th cove, then she would hang 4 white handkerchiefs on the line. This would let Woodhull know where he needed to go to meet up with Brewster to supply information for General Washington. Then in turn, Brewster would take that information, sail out on his whaleboat, and go meet up with Talmadge, who would then carry the information to General Washington. Now, this was the intimate spy ring, as I said, known as Culper spy ring. The way this relates to our reading this week in regards to Betsy Ross is that some historians feel that maybe Betsy's story isn't true or is only partially true, and the same could be said for Anna Smith Strong. But in reading several books, two in particular was Brian Kilmeade's book, Washington Secret 6, and Alexander Rowe's Washington Spies, they both feel that Anna Smith Strong was a part of the Culper spy ring. Now, whether or not she was, some historians debate, but I believe after reading many texts on the subject that she likely was involved in some way or another. Thank you for this opportunity to share about Anna Smith Strong.